Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, last year, the carnage on our roads, the figures were staggering. This year, we've started off on a not so good note. On the 10th, Monday, we were greeted with another gory accident on the Bibiani Anwiaso road, where some 13 people are said to have lost their lives when a Sprinter bus collided with a Metro Mass transit bus. How do we get out of the doldrums? That is why we're having this conversation as we paint the picture of the statistics. Joining me, Isaac Kofi Ajay, my colleague. Isaac, good morning.
Good morning, Ben.
You're looking sharp.
Thank you.
Great. So let's look at the breakdown in terms of road traffic crashes in 2021. Give us the facts, Elton.
All right, so let's start with 2021. In 2021, reported cases of road accidents, 15,972. It's involved 11,668 vehicles.
Right.
And now this resulted in 15,680 injuries and then a whopping 2,924 deaths in just 12 months. Now, if you really want to understand it, let's put it in a pie chart. And you realize that the 2,924 deaths, we had, commercial vehicles, 997 deaths just from commercial vehicles, and 661 deaths from private vehicles, and then motorcycles alone, 1,266 deaths. Now, if you really want to understand this, in terms of percentages, just look at motorcycles alone, 43.3%. Now, that's the biggest proportion in this whole chart, almost half.
Almost half the percentage.
Just
and these
motorcycles alone.
Are these motorcycles, or are these, do we have the tricycle component in the motorcycle bit?
Exactly.
Right.
So 43% in just 2021 alone. Now, if we do the month-on-month analysis, you could count that in about, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in 5 separate months, we had a dip in 2021. So from 244 lives being lost in January to 273 lives in February. Now, there was a dip in March, 254. And then another gradual increase to 263 in April. Now, from May to June, the story was good. The picture was good for Ghana. 216 lives were lost. There was a decline, a further decline to 204 lives in July. Now, from July, we had 250 lives being lost in road accidents.
252, actually.
252 lives being lost in road accidents alone. Now, in August, that was when the picture was.
That was our lowest.
Our lowest.
And it will be interesting to find out what we did ahead of August that maybe led to this. Or maybe, was it proper policing? Was it the MTTD being more visible? What was it? Or was it better education? We really need to
it will be good to find out. 185 deaths in August. And then, obviously in December, we had the highest. It's been like the outlier in this whole thing. 316 lives were lost in December alone. So on the average, in 2021, we're losing close to 240 lives every month.
It also tells me, Kofi, that in spite of all our efforts in the course of the year, we may not have achieved our target. You know why? Because I saw the MTTD out full force. If you used the N1, if you used certain stretches especially here in Accra, you would see them out there full force. But look at the figure in December. It's very discouraging. In fact, that is our worst.
Yeah, I'll show you a different chart, and you appreciate that. Although we've done well, but the picture hasn't really been good in terms of deaths for us.
Okay, so right before we go on, if we could just go back to that initial chart. So these, of course, this is data that is also coming to us from the MTTD, the NRSA, and all of that. I just want us to see what our average was from last year. When you put all of these together and divide by 12, what our average was. So let's just do this. So we'll 44, I'll take them one by one, plus the 273, plus the 254 and all of that. So when you add all of these figures, I know you have them somewhere in the chart, right?
Yeah. So the total is 2,000
for the entire year.
So the mean for the entire year is 240.
240
per month.
Per month.
Yeah. Okay. 240 lives.
Let's
were lost. So let's do the regional breakdown. Greater Accra region continues to lead with 675 deaths in 12 months, followed closely by the Ashanti region, 606 deaths, and then Eastern
which
region.
has been the trajectory, right?
Exactly.
It's Greater Accra, Ashanti.
Ashanti, Eastern
Sometimes
region.
one taking over from the other, but it's always these two regions.
Yeah. So, but if you draw a line here, you realize that, you know, there are other regions which are doing quite well. You know, like in the Northeast region, they had at least 18 deaths in the entire 12
But sometimes you have to look at population.
Exactly. We need to look at certain factors as well. OT region, 20 lives were lost. And so, you know, it wasn't really looking good for the Ashanti regions, Greater Accra, and then Eastern region. You know. And
the Eastern region, yes, they have quite a population, but you look at the figure and it's worrisome. Comparing their population, the regional population, to the Greater Accra and the Ashanti regions, it's pretty high for that region. I'm sure if you do, if we look at it in terms of population size as well, then you would see that some regions, though they are posting lower numbers, actually it's pretty high because comparatively the population is much smaller.
So if you do the population to the death ratio, you realize that this is comparatively high, as you just mentioned. So that's what I wanted us to focus on. We are doing a 10-year analysis from 2011 to 2021, the total number of deaths we've recorded as a result of road traffic crashes alone. Now, if you sum all this from 2011 to 2021, if you do the math, we've lost close to 24,000 lives to road accidents alone. 24,000. Now, you could see that from 2012 to 2016, we were in the 1,000 zones, 1,800 zones, you know. But rise from 2017 to 2021, just look at what is happening. You know, a stratospheric rise from 2017 to 2021, 1,823 from 2017 to 2,020 in 2018. Then look at 2021, 2,924 lives.
So what this event is, I mean, when you look at 2011, 2012, we were in the 2000s.
Yeah.
It appears we got something right for the next 3 years, 2013, 2014, 2015. We were in less than 2,000. Still close, but less than 2,000. Then it picked up again in 2016. In 2017, we managed to bring it back. But since then, from 2018 to 2021, it's been on an upward trajectory.
And then we have to ask what we are doing, you know, differently. But we are running all the campaigns. So why are we experiencing this kind of trend? And it's worrying. You know, if you just mention that they may sound like just numbers, but these are family members, you know, colleagues, you know. We can't lose over 2,000, close to 3,000 lives to road accidents alone, and it's not something good.
And if you now that you're talking of 24,000 people over a 10-year period, if we are to quantify, and again, this is where sometimes I feel we don't put enough into analysis, even from our statistical institutions and the rest. Like you said, maybe this person is a breadwinner. What is the effect, not just on how many people? Maybe that person was a teacher, that person was this, that person was that. What is the bigger impact economically and more? It's something that we often struggle to appreciate. We are not able to put into proper perspective because then you are talking of 24,000 lives. Of course, you can't even think of one life being lost.
It would sound like
24,000. It would sound like, oh, but we are in our millions. But the social impact, this could have ripple effects on hundreds of thousands of people.
Now, let's do a quick calculation. You know, on the average, we spend about 1.6% of our GDP on road accidents.
Right.
And if you do the math, you realize that this will translate into about $1.15 billion a year. Now, if you convert this to cedis using just an, let's say, a rate of 6 cedis, that will be around $6.9 billion a year. And that's equivalent to what we intend to generate from the e-levy. So e-levy is bringing in 6.9 billion. Road accidents is taking away 6.9 billion.
In other words, if we manage to get this right, no country can say we will not have any accidents in the year. But if we manage to stem the tide of the carnage on our roads, we would actually not need to overburden the people or burden the people, so to speak, with an e-levy, because most people have said that well. It's problematic.
So e-levy,
that's very poignant information.
Yeah, e-levy is bringing in 6.9. Road accident is taking away 6.9 billion every year.
In other words, we are just working for the accidents to sweep away.
Absolutely.
Let's proceed with the...
So now let's proceed with a comparative analysis of 2020 and 2021. We'll start with the total number of cases reported. So in 2020, in a span of 12 months, we reported 14,866 total number of road accidents. In 2021, we did 15,972. Now, if you do the percentage change, that will be an increase of 7.44%.
That's huge.
That's huge. Very significant.
That's huge. So cases reported, and
Yeah.
here again, we would want to look at, I mean, oftentimes you also have the bit about cases that are not even reported.
Exactly.
And the criminal element to it, because when there's such an instance, it must be reported. But sometimes we take it for granted. You know, there are incidents where there are some chock-a-block or whatever situations, accident situations in town, and people just settle on their own, no police report, nothing. So you don't even get to know.
So these are just
about
reported cases.
These are the reported ones.
Yeah.
And the ones that are not reported, only God.
If you calculate the error, I'm sure we'll be hovering around, close to 20,000, reported cases per year.
Per year.
Now let's also do the number of persons killed in each year. Now 2020, 2,589 persons were killed. Lives were lost to road accidents. In 2021, 2,924. Representing close to 13%.
It appears with all the negatives, 2021 was a pretty bad year in terms of number of accidents or cases, and then when it comes to the casualties, even from those who are injured to those who actually lost their lives.
Everything
2021 was a pretty bad year.
Yeah, everything was a rise on the negative side for as far as road accidents is concerned. If you look at persons injured, 15,517 in 2020 and 15,680 in 2021, representing 1.05% increase. Now, let me tell you something.
At least this was not so bad.
This is not too bad, but if you look at the economic implication, you realize that it's still significant. Per the 2020 medical journal, it's estimated that a household spends close to $1,687. Treating as medical bills on persons who are injured as a result of road accidents. Now, just one person, $1,887. Now, we've had 15,680 people, suffering from various degrees of injury. If you should do the math, this will translate to about $26.5 million. And if you should convert it to cedis, that will be around 159 Ghana cedis, 159 million Ghana cedis. And that's more than what we generate from our road fund, which is 72 million per year.
So it's about twice what we generate from our road fund.
Exactly.
And to put it into further perspective, you look at the fact that the income earnings of the people in these brackets could be very different. Yeah. I mean, you're talking of 1,000 plus on average to be spent on an individual, where in recent times, we've even had the GRA step in and say that, a lot of people earning 300 and something, less than 400, who earn about 4,000 plus a year. Imagine a person like that who earns about less than 5,000 a year.
They can't even afford
having to expend or put out 1,500 cedis. That is what chunk of, that's about 3 to 4 months.
$1,500.
Oh, wow. So it's even in dollars. So it's even worse. Even the yearly salary can't even, foot that.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, so we're going to put this into even greater perspective as we interact. And I'll be coming back to you, Isaac, as we delve into further figures. But Henry Asomani is Senior Manager, Planning and Programs at the National Road Safety Authority. He joins the conversation as well. Henry, good morning. Hello, Henry.
Good morning.
Pleasure having you. So looking at our performance last year, horrible. What would you say we should be looking at in a year like this, 2022? And we've not started on a good note with that latest accident on the 10th, that is Monday. What should we be looking at, and what are the mechanisms we should adopt to prevent a 2021 in 2022 or even worse?
Thank you very much, and I would like to greet all our viewers. Yes, 2021, as the statistics show, has been a very bad year when it comes to road safety. And this is something that is very worrying to Ghana. and to the authority as well, and to
Right.
everybody connected to road safety in Ghana. I'd like to also share my condolences with all who lost loved ones during 2021 and those who lost their loved ones on the 10th of January in that accident at Western North.
Right. So I was.
Yeah, we see that in 2021 especially, and even the year before, the media has been our partners in doing a lot of road safety sensitization. And what these figures tell us is that although we did a lot of sensitization, although we did a lot of education, the figures keep on rising.
Right.
It brings forth to the saying that education without enforcement is entertainment. I think we've gotten to the stage where we should bring in measures to enhance our enforcement. And when I say bring in measures, one of the measures that we can adopt that is currently ongoing is the adoption of technology in apprehension and detection of motor traffic offenses.
Okay.
So the Ghana Police Service, through the MTTD, will be deploying technology so that they can use technology to enforce the road traffic regulations.
When you say technology, what specifically? CCTV cameras? What technology are we deploying? Is it radar guns? What is it?
Okay. This technology will be in the form of speed and red light enforcement cameras. We already have the surveillance cameras app, which the police use in doing surveillance. But now the ones that are going to come up are specific speed and red light offenses. What this means is that these cameras, when let's say you are driving in a 50-kilometer zone, if you go above the 50-kilometer zone, this camera will just pick it and send it to the control room. So the control room will get a notification that this offense has been committed on so-and-so road at this time by this vehicle. Then the police will use its intelligence to apprehend the driver at other sections of the road and then prosecute the person. What the good thing about this is that the technology is such that it is end-to-end. It means that when the camera picks you, it enters it into a system, and anybody who enters the system would be able to see the end of that offense, what happened to that offense. So if it's truncated anywhere, then it will be seen by the authorities. What this will bring is that this would bring in where the policeman meets the driver and then there's some negotiation and then the driver is left to go. Then also it would also bring in reduce interventions or interference in their operations, where when I am arrested and I know somebody, I just call the person talks to the policeman, and then I am released. Because this technology is such that as soon as it enters the system, it can be traced. It will be difficult for anybody to be released when your offense has already been recorded in the system. Then another thing is also that the expansion of our roads. You know, the government has already declared the year of roads. This morning I heard Joy talking about some expansion projects ongoing in the country. The expansion of roads would also drastically reduce road traffic crashes. And this is something that the government has shown commitment. They have said this year is a year of roads. It continues to be the year of roads, where they are going to expand a lot of our roads. So if we even get these two measures to come in to complement the education and sensitization efforts that is being spearheaded by the media, then we think that we will be able to bring down these crashes. Then also, let us also know that this year the authority is also gearing up to fully establish its regulatory directorate for operations. I know last year we did some little ones where we clamped down on the unapproved alarms. This year we started by engaging organizers, where we are doing a lot of training for them, because we, as a regulatory body in the road transport sector, we are going to ensure that even those who work on vehicles work on them well, such that we don't have these mechanical failures on our roads, like blast ties, faulty brakes, and those things happening on our roads. So we started with the vulcanizers for this year, and this January, as we are speaking now, there's an ongoing training for vulcanizers in the Ashanti region being undertaken by the National Road Safety Authority. So these are some of the measures that are going to be put in place this year to enhance our road safety.
Well, that is interesting. The last one about the vulcanizers is crucial as well, because a lot of the time, I mean, you go to them sometimes, and unless you know your own PSI when it comes to tires, for example, some of them would just say, oh, let's pump it to this, air day, and then it's cool. But all of that, can culminate in a road accident. But my area of interest from all that you've said has to do with the harnessing of technology. You spoke about these red light cameras and all of that. Are these already being implemented? And if not, when? I know there have been some initiatives, but the specific ones you speak of, is it being, or are they being implemented as of now, or is there a plan? And when should we see them rolled out, if not?
Okay, before such things can be implemented, there are some procedures that it has to go through. But I would say that it has at the tail end of this bureaucracy, because you can't just bring them up. One, the law would have to be amended to accommodate that, and that is being done. Very soon it will be passed, and then we will see the first speed camera on our roads. And I want to tell you that I am sure by the end of the first quarter, this project will come to play.
So by the end of April, you're saying? Or so you said quarter, so by the end of March?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we also look at the situation where the last month of last year, that is December, we witnessed the worst situation. Kofi, just clarify for me, was that in terms of injuries, or was that in terms of accidents? So this was the month-on-month distribution, number of persons killed. Henry, so we had the worst figures in terms of people killed in the month of December. What guarantees do we have? I mean, what has the engagement been with the MTTD, for example, the DVLA? Are we ensuring that people are getting their roadworthy certificates, those who are supposed to do them, and all of that, to ensure that we don't see a repeat of these figures, apart from all that you've told me?
Okay, thank you very much. If you will see that from, I think, our conversation from last year, we have always been mentioning that now with the enactment of the National Road Safety Authority Act, we are supposed to ensure that any player within the road safety sector plays his role well, such that we are all kept safe on the roads. So yes, I can say on authority that there has been a lot of enhancement when it comes to the operations of the DVL. So in the sense that now they've done the operations such that it will be difficult for any vehicle to pass through their system and get a certificate without being technically roadworthy as determined by the DVL. So yes, there have been a lot of improvement in that sector about vehicle and the nature of vehicles that are being brought on our roads. The same way with the driving populace. There has been a lot of improvement in the type of drivers that are being put up. If you go into the statistics very well, you would realize that when it comes to these types of statistics, the parameters that we use in identifying what is going wrong, yes, you realize that we have these road user classes that we use. If you look at the road user classes over the 10-year period that you have projected now, you will realize that although most of the parameters are going down, if you go in very well, you realize that the car occupants, as in passengers, is going down. Even pedestrian is going down. What is alarming is the motorbike riders. That from 2010 till now have gone up so much that if we don't tackle that menace, then we will be looking at some statistics that we won't like. If you look at the 2021 statistics, just that one, you realize that out of the 2,924 deaths that we recorded,
right,
1,266 of them were people on motorbikes. And if you pick that, then it means that almost 40% of people who died through road crashes were on motorcycles.
Yeah.
10 years back, it was just about less than 10% of people dying through road traffic crashes. So if you go into details, you realize that the issue is more about the motorcycle menace. And this is something that we've been talking about. And as I said, with the coming into technology, using technology for enforcement, this is one of the areas that the NTTD is looking at. And I know an authority also that the NTTD intends to come up with a unit to tackle this menace, just the motorcycle issue.
Okay, so it's important you've added that, because I was going to ask you what specific measures we're going to do to target, because it appears it's taking a chunk, almost 50% of incidents and even in terms of lives being lost. So at least if there's going to be an outfit focusing on that, it would be a good step. I don't know whether we couldn't consider, like we have in other jurisdictions, I always bring this up, where some other countries have specific areas for motorbikes, and so you don't use the same lanes as vehicles. Is that something that we've ever thought of?
Yes, if you look at the new roads that are being done, there are areas that are earmarked for motorcycle lanes, especially on our highways, because they are high-speed roads. Motorcycles cannot compete with the vehicles on these high-speed roads. So you realize that you get sections where we have motorcycle lanes, and specifically if you look at the Achimota-Fankor Road, if you look at the Tetekwashi through Adenta, through Medina to the Ebri Road, you see all those lines there. But when you come to town, because in towns we have a mixture of road users in towns, and mostly in towns too, you have slow-moving vehicles. We tend to have a mixture of the motorcycles and vehicles using the same areas. So that is where the challenge now is now. But as I said, there's continuous education when it comes to motorcycle issues. Then also the MTTD is coming up with this special unit to tackle that menace, especially in town.
Henry,
if you go into the motorcycle issues, you realize that most of the motorcycle deaths happen in towns. We don't get it happening on the highways. We get them happening in towns. So that is how come the focus is on the town riding.
Okay. Very quickly, we're very pressed for time. In about a minute and a half, I want you to address these two issues for me. First of all, so moving forward, as we construct more roads, you've mentioned it's another year of roads. Are we going to be factoring this into the planning so that motorcycle lanes and all of that into the construction of roads?
Yes, that's what I said. That going forward, any major road that is coming up will be the motorcycles will be factored in. Okay, so if it is an area that they should have their own lanes, it will be done. If it is an area where we think that there can be mixed traffic, that will also be done.
Okay. Henry, if you can hear me, I just want to... Can you hear me, Henry?
Yes, please.
Okay. Are you also aware, and I've got a lot of information trickling in from time to time, that when it comes to the roadworthiness of many cars, are you aware that a lot of them don't even go through the process, or some of them don't go through the process, yet they get their roadworthy certificates? Are you aware of that?
When you say a lot of them do not go through...
Let's say some of them. Let's say some of them. Some people don't go through the process, yet they get it. You know what that means?
There's an adage in Akan that they say that if you be a mesa, of course we can't get it 100%, but I think that for now, as I said, they really have enhanced its operations such that little by little we are weaving off a lot of these off. And with it comes with time. I'm sure at time to come we will be having a number that is negligible, those who go through what you are talking about.
All right. Thank you very much, Henry, for joining us for this conversation. Henry Asumani is Senior Manager Planning and Programs with the National Road Safety Authority. Let's wrap in the studio with Isaac Kofi Ejay. And so to wrap on the statistics, it's quite a picture you've painted already. Yeah. Is there any other statistic you would like to mention, make particular mention of?
Let's talk about pedestrian knockdowns.
Very briefly on that.
Yeah. Pedestrian knockdowns, 2020, 2,729 pedestrian knockdowns. And then in 2021, 2,930, representing a rise of 7.4%. As far as this figure is concerned. But maybe
final point, how much of an economic or national impact does all of this have?
So that we estimated earlier, we are losing close to 1.6% of our GDP, just trying to curb this problem, which translates to close to 6.9 billion Ghana cedis we spoke about earlier.
Your final words?
I think we should probably, maybe later, we can have a conversation on head-on collision. Because if you do the math, you realize that head-on collision alone and then head-on collision alone and other factors are causing like 60% of the total number of deaths we record every year.
So the expansion of our roads as well.
Exactly.
Dualization and more.
It's also one maybe area that we can look at so that as they say in Spanish, poco a poco, maybe we can have a negligible figure assisted.
Interesting one. Thank you so much for coming through, Kofi, with the figures. And this is how we wrap it up on the AM show for another beautiful morning. Expect much more tomorrow as we come your way with more. Do stay with us, though. We'll be bringing you JoyNews Desk at 10.